Oh, hi guys, this is Jack, and today we're going to be talking about EPiC, the new Elvis Presley documentary directed by Baz Luhrmann. I want to go slightly super deep into this film while also not spoiling it, because I think this is one of those documentaries that needs to be seen in real time with real people, and I want to talk about it also because the experience I had with it while seeing it at the Toronto Film Festival a couple weeks ago was just so magical. So let's kind of go deep into the movie right now. So starting from the beginning, this documentary is directed by Baz Luhrmann, who did the Elvis biopic back in 2022. And I remember watching the biopic when it came out, and I really loved it. I thought it was one of the better musical biopics that I've seen in the past couple of years, mainly because of the attention to detail, as far as showing every facet of Elvis's life, from the beginning all the way to his tragic end.
He's white?
What do you think, Texarkana?
He's white.
And I think once I saw that biopic back then, I kind of understood the man himself, especially as someone who wasn't a really big fan of his music early into my childhood. But then after kind of seeing that biopic and then going through a lot of his discography with one of his famous songs and albums, then I started to kind of really understand where he came from the beginning to his tragic death. So with this documentary, you have an opportunity to kind of understand more about his artistry. And right from the bat, EPiC Elvis Presley in Concert is basically a psychedelic adventure where you're following Elvis as his acting career has kind of fallen down. He's kind of at a point where he's been doing the same roles over and over again. Romantic leads, just bad boys, performances that haven't really been too much of a thing for Elvis. He wants to kind of branch out away from these typecasted roles in the film industry, but the film industry is rejecting that. So he's just you know what, screw it. After my contract ends, I'm going to go back to performing live in concert because this is how I started the whole thing. So after the contract ends with his film studio, he goes back to the live performances, but this time around he sets a residency in Las Vegas, and throughout the entire runtime of this documentary, after the acting performances are established, you see Elvis kind of building the famous residency, and you see from the beginning he's pulling all of his famous songs. He's creating those songs in those atmospheric gospel meets Motown meets big band performance type of aesthetic.
Lord have mercy.
And you see a few videos of him interacting with his bandmates, the people who are putting the show together, and just also the Colonial, who is basically a guy who profited off of Elvis's entire career and put him to work to the point where he couldn't leave away from America to perform in other countries. He had to stay in Las Vegas, and this was also heavily portrayed in the biopic, where he started to drink a lot, do a lot of drugs, and then eventually he became really, really fat, and then eventually died from all the damage that he has put throughout those few last years of his life. So basically that doesn't show, the drugs and all that in this documentary. Instead, it's more focused on the residency of Las Vegas and how everything was created, and then how the whole thing went. Now, I will say this, Baz's direction and editing is still very the same compared to, his last forte in Elvis, which was the biopic. So it does have that same feel. But for me personally, what really kind of captured the essence of Elvis was just the way Baz would use a lot of the voiceover of Elvis explaining his process, his thoughts and all that, while also, making fun of himself. He's, a goofy guy. He interacts with these bandmates with, a familiar territory. He feels everything is just full of just life, and it's a family, gathering. And that really helps with the film, because when you're watching the documentary, you kind of feel that this could potentially like hit a wall, but it doesn't. In fact, it blends between voiceovers, behind the scenes footage of him trying to like put all the music together in this live performance. And then you see the live performances. You see the live performances where Elvis is playing like his super famous songs, and it really got to me. And I think what really worked also as well was just like the audience participation, where you see the audience that I had at the Toronto Film Festival, a lot of them were like up on their seats, they were dancing, they were having a ball. A lot of the older generation who attended this screening were very lively. And in the last 10 minutes of this film where Elvis plays Suspicious Minds, everybody just like got up and started like dancing and clapping in their seats, and it was a beautiful experience. And when the film ends, it ends in just such a bombastic way where you feel very lively and whole. And also there's like a few cameos in the film. I don't want to like spoil it, but Sammy Davis Jr. appears in one scene, kind of giving him a lot of good praise and work for, you know, the stuff that he does during the Las Vegas residency, and just other stuff that happens in the film that I don't want to spoil, but I kind of want to like put that out there because the whole, you know, Las Vegas concert experience was just a joy to just watch and kind of let in while, you know, other people that were super famous around that time had. And you felt like you experienced a lot of what Elvis went through throughout this entire section of his life, especially when you know what happens to his life at the end of the road. But even then, there's still some hope to, you know, the whole magic of making music out of thin air. And yeah, I think Baz Luhrmann, his direction in this is very flashy, but also slightly constrained, where he's not going too crazy with like the editing. He's just kind of like putting everything together. And if I remember correctly, this is over like 1,000 hours of footage that he found in the estate and also in like in the middle of the desert, I think somewhere in America. And he kind of explained it in the pre-Q&A before the movie started, how he got everything together, all the footage together. But yeah, I thought this was very entertaining. Probably one of my favorite documentaries this year, aside from like the Jeff Buckley documentary from a few weeks ago that I saw finally. But this was just like an experience that I will never forget, because seeing it with like a crowd of people was just a joy. And there was also a really cool moment where this lady during the Q&A explains how she was one of the people who was part of the Graceland community, and also she witnessed Elvis's funeral around that time, and also went to one of his concerts when she was like super young, like when she was like a kid. And the whole thing ended with her holding Baz's hand and having like a touching moment. And I think, again, really, it just really kind of like brought me to tears after everything was just like set. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm glad I saw it with one of my friends, Alex. And I'm just like really happy that I saw it with like a group of people who are very attentive to like the material at hand. So I highly recommend it. I don't know when this is coming out. I don't know if it's gonna come out this year, but if it does come out this year or next year, like keep an eye on it. It's definitely a documentary that needs to be seen in theaters and with a group of friends. I give this a 4 out of 5. I don't know if this is going to be like an Oscar prospect thing. I don't know if it's going to be even part of like the documentary field this year, but if it does happen, I would recommend it being nominated here, even though they're not really, you know, into celebrity big documentaries of the Academy, but who knows? It depends, whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Definitely check this one out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Spread the word. I know a lot of Elvis fans are really, really clamoring to hear more people praise this documentary, and I'm one of those people who are really, 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 really excited to give a good kind of impression of this film. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Peace out. More TIFF reviews are coming. Keep an eye on my channel. And yeah, thank you guys. Peace out.